You can't combine the Fast and the Furious with something actually serious. I'm all about weird stuff. Alright, y'all are gonna cancel me for this one. This cover... Please. Am I the main character and you got chased by a wolf, eaten by a wolf, and you had to climb out of the wolf's stomach? I'm just saying, I think you could benefit from a little bit of therapy. Okay, it's 1:22, so there's no better time to film the mid-year freakout tag. So, I've just finished up Reader Dare, which is a fun readathon that I do with friends, and I just had to drink something really gross. Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel. This is Let Me in the Library. We're gonna do the mid-year freakout tag. This is a tag to let the people know, what are your thoughts? What are the things that you're reading? And in trying to formulate my answers to some of these questions, I was like, really? Did I not read more than this? I thought I had read more things, but I guess that was last year, so here we are. The first question for this tag is, what is your favorite read of this year? I feel like my tastes range across different genres, so it's very hard for me to choose just one singular answer. I really liked The Prince and the Dressmaker. That made me so happy. It was a cute little graphic novel. I ended up reading it while I was coming home from a business trip, and it was the perfect little, pick-me-up. I love the art style. I love the little friendship and the, story between the characters there, and I loved it so much. And I was really pleasantly surprised really recently by Someone Who Will Love You in All of Your Damaged Glory. I didn't realize how much I would like that book, but I picked it up with no expectations and did not realize at all that it was written by the same person who wrote BoJack Horseman. Also another show I have never seen, but apparently that might be right up my alley because this series of short stories was just so good. It was everything that I didn't realize I needed at the time that I was listening to it. I was trapped in New York trying to get a train home, and I was sitting there at New York Penn Station waiting for my train to arrive. My phone was dead, and all I had was this audiobook, kept me company on my journey home, and I devoured it. I mean, it's a nice collection of stories kind of about love, but not really in a romantic sense, more of what you have to deal with when you love somebody, or the anxieties of insecurity. It's not really the same vein of human stories that I tend to gravitate towards, but there's still a huge thread of that there, and I think that might be exactly what the author of BoJack Horseman really specializes in. So makes me really interested in the show, and anything else that person writes, I would be pretty happy to pick it up. Oh, another surprise for me, River of Teeth. Oh my gosh, that was a really good book. I originally gave that 4 stars, but I'm thinking more and more about it and how fun it was that I might just bump it up to a 5. But River of Teeth is the first book in a duology, the American Hippo duology by Sarah Gailey, and it follows this heist crew of vagabonds, kind of. It's led by this one rough and tough type of cool guy named Houndstooth, and he has to gather a bunch of people to help free the hippos in the bayou. So this is an alternate history America where this is a real thing that really almost happened, where the government was like, hey, we should bring in hippos as a food resource. And Sarah Gailey was like, well, wait, what if they did this? And then what if they couldn't control hippos as a food resource, and they went feral and they went wild, and they just had to deal with it. So then the ferals infest the bayou, and that's where this whole story takes place. It's so fascinating. It's such a cool world that they built. And I mean, this just really was so good. So River of Teeth is the first book. I also ended up reading the sequel as well, Taste of Marrow, and it's really hard not to love these characters. So definitely really high up there for me. Last little mention here for question number 1 that we're still on is Comfort Me with Apples. I really was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed it. This is one of those I definitely would recommend physically because there are certain things that I picked up on much more easily by physical rather than audio. I started listening to audio and I think I got 75% of the way through it, and I was like, there's obviously something I'm not quite getting, because I think there's certain words that I'm glossing over because of their meaning. I'm really trying not to spoil the book, but if you know what I'm talking about, I think you might know what I'm talking about. So when I picked up the book, there were things that I started to pick up on more where I was like, oh, okay, like this is definitely something that now I could Google the meaning of this word now that I know how to spell it, and now I have some ideas. So I actually guessed the plot twist to that right before it happened, and that was just a really cool concept of a book. I really enjoyed that one as well. I think I ended up giving that 4 or 4.5 stars. So all great books and really enjoyed them. So moving on to question number 2, what is the best sequel that you read in 2022? And this one I actually knew right away off the bat, and it's Where the Drowned Girls Go by Shauna McGuire. I have been a big fan of the Wayward Children series ever since deciding to pick the series back up again last year, and I just absolutely fell in love. Oh my god, it's so good. I read the first novella a long time ago and I was like, I like this, cool, but for some reason I didn't have the desire to move on right away with the rest of the series, and because I had actually gotten an arc for Where the Drowned Girls Go, I was like, let me go and marathon the whole series. I did, and I loved everybody. I just fell in love with all the characters. They're so cute and wonderful, and I love following them around, and they're so wholesome, but there's also these like important life lessons along the way, and I feel like Where the Drowned Girls Go is one of those books that really like solidified for me that this is such an excellent series. It follows the main protagonist, which is Cora, and she is one of the wayward children, which are children who have gone through portals like Alice going down the rabbit hole, but these wayward children basically like went on these fantastical adventures and decided like, I want to stay there, that's my home now, and they somehow ended up back in our world and they want to go back home. So Cora is a mermaid. She used to be in this other mermaid world and she ended up stuck back here again, but because of some of the adventures that happened in the previous books, she's also haunted by something and she wants to forget everything that happens. So she's like, maybe I should go to this special academy which guarantees that you will be able to move on with your life, because if I can't go back to my world as a mermaid, maybe I should just forget everything and try to live as a normal person back here on, Earth or whatever. She goes to this school, but of course things are not quite as they seem, and she realizes that maybe she made a big mistake, that this is not the academy where she wants to be. There aren't really the same kinds of friends here that care about her, and it suddenly becomes a journey of trying to get out of there, but also understanding who makes the rules when it comes to your own sense of discovery, your own sense of worth. Cora has also faced discrimination her whole life because she's fat, so the people have always made fun of her, and they've just been so fat phobic towards her whole life. I mean, she takes it and just is like, it doesn't, you think it's gonna faze me, it's not gonna faze me. And she's cool. I love her. She's so cool. When she was really, really, really young, she had this sense of maybe I should change the way that my body looks. But after that, when she finally became a mermaid, which we kind of see off screen, it's like she has this total acceptance of who she really is. And I just loved seeing that. She was already that well fleshed out, wonderful character, but she still got to go on her own sense of discovery and her own journey that had really nothing to do with body image. And I think that's really important because sometimes we are looking for that representation, but we don't need the story to be about just only that. I think it doesn't really make sense if we're looking at a certain kind of representation, but we can only make the story about the journey of accepting yourself instead of just allowing people of all different backgrounds and people of all different body sizes and so on and so forth to just be characters that get to have totally different stories. So I think that's also why the story meant a lot to me, and I just really loved seeing it. There were moments that I was just filled with shock, filled with horror, happiness. It was so good. I highly recommend picking up that series. I love it so much. It's so good. I can't wait for the next book. I really can't. Okay, we're finally on to question number 3, which is, what is a new release that you haven't quite read yet? I have a couple answers for this. First is Until the Last of Me, which is the next book in the Take Them to the Stars series by Sylvain Neuvel. Christine and I are buddy reading this one day. I did actually start reading it, and I am enjoying it so far, but this follows one person in a long line of women who have slowly but surely been shaping history for what it is, but they have sort of their own rules about the ways that their family inheritance works, because only so many of them are allowed to be alive at a particular time, but they're also just super, super, super smart. And it's a whole thing that you find out in book 1. So I'm excited to see what happens in the rest of this series, especially here in book 2. Here I also have How to Be Eaten, which I really want to read. And this is like if all of these different fairy tale characters went to therapy, which is probably exactly what they need. Think about it. I mean, if you were like Little Red Riding Hood and you got chased by a wolf, eaten by a wolf, and you had to climb out of the wolf's stomach, I'm just saying, I think you could benefit from a little bit of therapy. And then I also really want to read When You Get the Chance, which I won in a Goodreads giveaway. I won that book, and that one is by Emma Lord, the same author of Tweet Cute, which I really enjoyed. And this is about a girl who finds out from her dad's live journal who her mom is, like her biological mom, and she decides to seek her out in New York, where she herself is also trying to become a Broadway star someday. So it's literally like a reverse Mamma Mia situation, which sounds so fun. And I started reading a couple pages before I could really dive into it, and I just really enjoyed what I could read so far. And because I like Tweet Cute so much, I feel like this is going to be just perfect. I also have another release that just came out that I wanted to also bring up that I want to read. It's called Oof, man, that drink is like, ooh, not a good idea. It's called Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. And it says, 16-year-old trans boy Benji is on the run from the cult that raised him, the fundamentalist sect that unleashed Armageddon and decimated the world's population. Desperately, he searches for a place where the cult can't get their hands on him, or more importantly, on the bioweapon they infected him with. But when cornered by monsters born from the destruction, Benji is rescued by a group of teens from the local Ashanon LGBTQ+ center, affectionately known as the ALC. The ALC's leader, Nick, is gorgeous, autistic, and a deadly shot, and he knows Benji's darkest secret. The cult's bioweapon is mutating him into a monster deadly enough to wipe humanity from the earth once and for all. Still, Nick offers Benji shelter among his ragtag group of queer teens, as long as Benji can control the monster and use its power to defend the ALC. Eager to belong, Benji accepts Nick's terms, until he discovers the ALC's mysterious leader has he has a hidden agenda and more than a few secrets of his own. Wow, okay, this sounds really cool. This just released June 7th, and man, wow, this sounds really cool. Question 4. What's your most anticipated release that has not quite yet released yet? Obviously Babel. Who's not going to say Babel? Babel by R.F. Kuang. Everybody wants to read this. A couple of my friends have read the arc of Babel, and of course everybody was like, 5 stars, the best book I've read. It was so shocking, this thing near the end. I can't believe it. So I want to be in the loop. A little bit of FOMO going on, and I want to read it and find out what happened. I did finish the Poppy War trilogy recently with the Fantasy Series Book Club, and I had some thoughts about the ending of the Poppy War, but I still really like R.F. Kuang's writing, and I think that this is such a totally different genre that I'm really interested to see how she tackles it. There's also a book called If You Could See the Sun. It's about this girl who I think can turn invisible, and she steals her classmates' secrets and sells them for money. One more I want to talk about as well. It's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and oh my god, the promo for this book is so cool. If you look at Instagram at the promos for Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, it literally is like a video game. Like, I think it's actually a real video game that they invented, like, on the website that you can play as promo for this book, which is just so cool. And I think they're also giving away a Nintendo Switch with the Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, like, visuals as decals on the Nintendo Switch, which is just so cool. I love the commitment. So it says, on a bitter cold day in the December of his junior year at Harvard, Sam Masser exits a subway car and sees amid the hordes of people waiting on the platform Sadie Green. He calls her name. For a moment she pretends she hasn't heard him, but then she turns and a game begins. A legendary collaboration that will launch them to stardom. These friends, intimates since childhood, borrow money, beg favors, and before even graduating college, have created their first blockbuster, Ichigo. Overnight, the world is theirs. Not even 25 years old, Sam and Sadie are brilliant, successful, and rich, but these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California, the lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, to be loved, and to love. Yes, it is a love story, but it is not one you have read before. How cool does that sound? No! I got a little bit too excited. I accidentally threw my tablet across the room. Next question. What was your biggest disappointment? I can only choose one. No, you know what? Let's just get into it. Okay, the answer is Portrait of a Thief. I put this as one of my most highly anticipated releases for this year, and I was just really disappointed. This was pitched as this Chinese-American heist. A couple of students who are super smart to get together and they pull off this cool heist to reclaim history through art, because of the significance of the art that was stolen from China and put into European museums. And I thought that was a really cool concept. However, I didn't realize it was literally just going to be a Fast and Furious movie. And that seems like what a good time, what a great time. But no, I mean, like, it literally wasn't even fun. I love heist movies. Anything with like The Rock trying to steal something or like save the day or what, like, I like that cheesy type of stuff. I really do, genuinely. But I just thought if you were going to pitch this as something that was like a powerful reclamation of years and years of history and art being, you know, brought back to its rightful place, I would expect there to be a little bit of depth, and instead it was really just the same exact repetitive shit over and over and over again. You can't combine the Fast and the Furious with something actually serious. You can't do that and expect me to actually rate this higher than 1 star. This book filled me with rage. Like, I was in a reading slump, and I think because I was reading this book, I was like, are you kidding me that this book is this bad? I'm out of my slump now, having read this, so thanks, I guess. I can't waste my time on stuff like this. I gotta go be reading something else that's much better. It wasn't good. It was not good. Okay, biggest surprise in terms of, like, a book I read and the plot twist surprised me. The answer is Behind Her Eyes. Sarah from Sarah's Shelves told me to read this and was like, I love this book, I gave it 5 stars. It's like a classic kind of almost like domestic thriller where you've got a woman who meets some guy and she kisses him and finds out the next day that he's her boss. He has a wife, and so she ends up making friends with the wife without the husband knowing. But she's like, ooh, maybe there's like really something more going on, and like maybe there's something wrong with the husband because of the sketchy way that the wife is acting. So, you know, that's like your classic domestic thriller, and that's exactly what you would expect to get out of this book for about 60% or so of this book. And then it really goes like off the rails. But my God, it's really not even like, wow, I can't believe what an intelligent, like, plot twist it was. I mean, I feel like I kind of saw this coming. I don't know why everybody says they're so surprised by the ending. And then I hit literally the last chapter. So the book wraps up, it finishes, and then it's like an epilogue kind of like last scene thing in one last chapter, and it literally adds in something that nobody asked for, but it was definitely a surprise, and I was like, okay. Now I know why everyone's surprised, and I'm just sitting there, mouth agape, like, what am I supposed to do with this information? What do I do now? Very shocking. Very shocking. Thanks, Sarah, for putting me through that kind of existential crisis. The next question is, who is your favorite new author? I think Ken Liu still remains a pretty high up there author, but I'll also add Seanan McGuire just because I feel like I have not talked about Seanan McGuire much prior to this video, so I definitely want to make sure that that is known, that Seanan has now taken like a very high top spot for me. Number 8, who is your new fictional crush? Not Aaron Blackford, I'll tell you that. You know who it is, to be honest? It's Alan from The Lost City. What a guy. He brought snacks, he brought extra shoes, he's just a kind, supporting dude, there for his girl. I mean, what a guy. What a sweetie. Number 9, who is your favorite character? I mean, can I just say, like, everybody in the Wayward Children series? Like, all the kids, I love them so much. I love Cora, I love Cade, they're the best. Like, the main trio in River of Teeth, so that's Archie, Houndstooth, and Hero. I love them too. I love them so much. I don't know, just, I love them. They're really just so lovable, and it's like, I want to protect them, or if they need to protect me, that's fine, but like, book that made you happy? Prince and the Dressmaker, pretty self-explanatory. Also the same book that made me cry, which is the next question, because how do you not cry reading this book? Very emotional, especially the part where the king shows up near the end. I'm always a sucker for things like that, and I was feeling things, for sure. I could also say the same thing for both these questions about Where the Drowned Girls Go. They're both so good. They're both so good. Such good books. Also say, just because I don't want to keep saying the same books over and over again, there is another book that made me happy, and it's the Welcome to Night Vale book, because it was a way for me to get re-immersed in the podcast. I just started listening to the audiobook for Welcome to Night Vale, the book, and I was like, wait a minute, oh my god, this is all of the callbacks to stuff in the show. I love the show so much, and that was a very, like, formative podcast for me and my personality as a young person listening to it as it was being released in the very, very early years. So it's so wonderful to like go back and listen to that stuff again and to also just feel connection with the book. And it was definitely something I had on my TBR for a very long time, so it made me happy to finally, you know, dive into that book and see it all the way through. All right, y'all are gonna cancel me for this one, but favorite book to film adaptation? I mean, everybody's going to say Heartstopper, but the thing is, I didn't actually watch Heartstopper yet. I've seen other people react to Heartstopper. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I haven't yet seen it. But I have a feeling that's going to be my answer, because even watching other people react to it, I get all emotional because I love the graphic novels. They're just so good. And I just assume I'm gonna love it. Favorite video that you did this year? I feel like it has to be my book Scavenger Hunt video that I did as a collaboration with the roomies Steph from Stephanie Bookish and Jayla from Lala Loves Lit. That was such a fun video to make and have fun with. And I guess also I really liked making the fake book covers for my April Fool's joke video. That was just a lot of fun. Getting close to the end now, so the next question is, what is the most beautiful book that you have received or purchased this year? So, first off, I received On a Sunbeam from the lovely Steph from Stephanie Bookish. She just gave this to me. She just handed it to me. We went to a used bookstore and she just handed me this and she just went, here you go. But it is a graphic novel. I also know that Steph loves it. So I think it's really the spine that stands out the most here, because look at that. Wait a minute. I mean, like, can you imagine having this on your shelf and just being like, am I the main character? Because look at this book. It's just absolutely stunning. While on that trip looking at used books, just like raced to the shelves when I saw this book, The Raw Shark Texts. This is kind of in the same vein as my first mid-year freakout tag when I talked about beautiful books. And the reason that this was so exciting for me is because this is a multimedia book that I have been dying to get my hands on. So look at like the insides, like weird stuff. I'm all about weird stuff. So this kind of thing where the insides are all wacky and strange. Wow, now it just looks like regular pages, but just trust me. Trust me, it's a little weird. Oh, here we go. Look, a little shark. A little shark. Made a text. I've been really excited about this. This is a story about a guy who I think wakes up and doesn't have a memory, and he sees all these very strange codes, and anything to do with like codes and puzzles and stuff like that with multimedia and books is instantly right up my alley. Exactly what I'm looking for. So I was so excited to find this book and pick it up, and to me, that's beautiful. Again, in the same vein, I also found The Joy Luck Club, which I've been also dying to get my hands on with this copy in particular, because it's, let me move the ring light again, because just, I don't know, like I originally saw this cover and I was like, whatever, but when I read this book I was like, wow, this is really good, and I guess I had spent enough time like staring at the cover that I was like, wait, this is kind of beautiful, and there's just something about this art style that really appeals to me. I really like it, and I'm so happy I have this copy, even though it's like really yellowed edges and stuff. I don't really care about stuff like that. It's just the fact that I have this cover. Please. It's the fact that I have this cover and I have this book here and I can finally just bask in it. I'm so happy I have it. It's beautiful to me. It's beautiful to me. Now comes the fun part, which is the rapid fire, everything I still have to read for the rest of the year question. So, what do I still have to read for the rest of the year? I have to read Jade War. Jade War is the current pick for this current month for the Fantasy Series Book Club, and then I have to read Jade Legacy for next month, so don't have that physically, but I will have to read that to continue on for the Bone Along for the Fantasy Series Book Club. I also have Black Sun. I've been meaning to read this. I tried to start reading this during Reader Dare, and it wasn't really connecting with me at the time, but I have a taste test vlog which involves this book, so I will need to pick this one up. Speaking of, I also have this for a taste test vlog, which I will need to read, Plow Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, so that's another one, definitely on the list. Sundial, which I have been partway through for a little while, but really enjoying. Need to read this one for sure. The Wild Ones, sorry Noelle, but I am still currently reading this one as well from a book club discussion I did back in November, and I really need to finish it, but it was really cool. I also have to read these. I also love to read these. You shame me. I still haven't read Cloud When You Land. I really want to read Snake Falls to Earth, First Sister, Piranesi, after finding out that maybe Jared and I are the same person, and Girl One as well. I certainly want to know What Do We Need Men For. I need to finally read this book. I put it on like every mid-year freakout tag since starting my channel. Okay, I'm trying to make a point to the people. Look at this. Look at how cool that is. I literally think this used to be my thumbnail for my first mid-year freakout tag. I have Close Encounters with Humankind, which is a nonfiction book about evolution and humanity. Choose Your Own Disaster, which is a choose your own adventure book, but it's also a memoir, which sounds so cool. Oh, Legends and Lattes. I need to read that. Everyone's been reading that and raving about it. Artemis, which has been on my TBR forever, and I still haven't picked it up in its entirety. I've only read like a third of it in total, and I need to just finally do that. I Kissed Shara Wheeler, which I have an advanced listener copy for, which I need to read. I think those are all my answers for the mid-year freakout tag, and I am totally out of space at this point on this thing I'm filming on, so I'm going to very quickly wrap this up, and thank you for watching this. If you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, especially here in the ones that I need to read, please let me know which ones I should prioritize, and I will try to make that happen. I have a lot of books on my TBR, and I definitely think I'm not reading as quickly as I used to for last year, but I am doing my best, living my life, doing my best. I hope that you're doing well, and please let me know what you read this year that was your favorite book of the year, and maybe your biggest disappointment as well. Just give me a little bit of tea. If you want to leave me an emoji, you can leave like a tea emoji or something. Who doesn't love tea? But that's just about gonna do it for me. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Rachel, this is Let Me in the Library, and I'll see you next time. Bye!